Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre. This is going to be long. This is going to be drawn out. This is going to be very compact with a lot of information. There's going to be some commentary, but I'm going to use my book to stick to the facts because if you let me tell it, I will be here for 4 hours telling you stories. And so Tayla Andre, real estate agent, 10 years, business forever. I've never had a real job. I've always been an entrepreneur. And I don't want to waste your time. A lot of people are like, I'm ready to buy a house. I want to buy a house. I took the first time home buyers class. I still don't know what to do. Where should I start? Where do I begin? This is your all-encompassing step-by-step guide for what you need based on the book that I wrote to give you the steps that you need. Reading is fundamental. And so I'm going to go really quickly through the chapters. And this, I'll just be quiet. When people call, ask me, what do they need to do to purchase a house? I give them a quick rundown so they know what to expect during the overall process. The first thing you want to do is start saving your pennies. How much is going to depend on you, but I would suggest saving as much as you possibly can. Next, pull your credit report, take a look at all the problematic accounts and rectify them. From there, I'm going to connect you with a loan officer. If you do not already have one, I will give you a choice of multiple ones that you can work with and find which one works best for your personality. I have loan officers that will hold your hand through the entire process and stay on the phone with you until you're comfortable and feel like you're fully knowledgeable. But I also have loan officers that will send you a link and tell you to fill in the blank if you don't want all of the nonsensical nonsense of sitting on the phone all day. So it really just depends on who you are and who you connect with. After receiving your pre-approval, which will determine what price range we're looking at, you and I will talk about locations, your wants, your needs, your desires, your must-haves, and your no-nos. These are important. I want you to understand that sometimes your no-nos may be unavoidable due to your affordability. From there, we will find you your dream home that fits within your financial comfort zone. We will put an offer in. Sometimes highest isn't always best, and everything. And I will do everything to negotiate on your behalf and get your offer accepted. When the offer is accepted, we immediately have to submit our $1,000 binder, which says we are now in relationship. That's the form of like putting a ring on it. Next, you will set up a home inspection within 10 days from our accepted offer. It can be less than 10 days. You have the options of a pest inspection, a lead inspection. That can all be added, and it would be at an additional cost. Typically, an inspection can be anywhere between $500 to $3,000. The $3,000 is if you have like a multifamily that has 5,000 square feet, a carriage house in the back. That was the highest inspection I've ever seen. They had the lead, they had the radon, they had everything. And so you do have options. One of the things that I love about an inspection is it's like sitting down and dating. I'm going to tell you everything that's wrong with me, all of my problems, all of my flaws, and you can determine whether or not you want to spend the rest of your life with me. And if you don't, you get to walk away and get your $1,000 back. If you do, then we move forward to what is called the purchase and sales agreement. That purchase and sales agreement puts us legally binding, legal language. Bank is now involved. Everyone's talking behind the scenes. We probably don't communicate as much because we spend all of these days, weeks, months going house to house. And now behind the scenes is having a conversation about the logistics of what the stack of papers you will sign when you purchase your house. At the purchase and sale agreement, this is when you will submit your deposit, which is typically 3.5% for those utilizing FHA. You don't have to put the full 3.5% down. It does make you a stronger buyer on paper. And 5 to 20% for those using a conventional loan. we are going to discuss conventional loans also can be as low as 3% if you do have, if you're using a single family owner occupied residence. If you do not have an attorney, one would be appointed so you know. If you don't have an attorney, again, just like a loan officer, depending on your temperament, depending on your idiosyncrasies and how you like to be talked to or how you like to be handled is who I will suggest to you. One of the things is I like working with my team. It is very difficult for me to absorb your attorney. It's very difficult for me to absorb your loan officer because these are now people that I don't have a relationship with. These are people that I do not trust. These are not people that I know how they work and I know they're going to get the job done. Whereas in my experience, these are the people that I've worked with in the past that I've watched turn miracles, from broken deals into closed deals. Next, an appraisal will be done. This is when the bank sends somebody out to take a look at the house to say, listen, how much are we going to pay for this house? Because the bank is really paying for it, and then you pay the bank back. And if after the appraisal is complete, we find out whether you're paying less for the house because it appraised less, so you're not going to pay a penny more than what it is worth, or to find out whether or not you are walking into equity because we purchased it for $100,000, but it's worth $110,000. So now you have $10,000 worth of equity. Approximately 28 to 40 days after our offer is accepted, we meet at the closing table, and at the closing table, you will bring with you your closing cost and patience because you will be signing your life away. When I wrote this book, signing used to take anywhere between 30 and 90 minutes, but COVID has really changed things where signing is as quick as like 15 minutes, depending on what your mortgage package looks like. When you're done signing, the transfer of property would be recorded on record. So as soon as you're done signing, it has to go to that county, and then the county puts it in the system. And once it's in the system, that is when you are technically the owner. That's why if you are closing on a Friday, it's good to close at like 11, 12. You don't want like a 4 p.m. closing because the registry is about to close and then you won't be on record until Monday and legally won't be the owner of the house. And then you can finally call yourself at home. And that's where finally home comes from. And so hopefully that broke down very quickly for you what it means to purchase a home. And so are there any questions? No questions in the chat? All right. So I would like to take a moment really quickly and share my screen because I have a property that's currently on the market right now. And I would like to share this property with you. If you know someone who is interested, if you know someone who is looking, this is not a proper depiction. This is the back office. Let's go back. That doesn't do me any good either. Can I see? Social share. All right. So what you are currently looking at is 25 Fountain Street. I know my team and I were really big on Sage on Fountain, and we're marketing the heavens out of this property. And so this is a condo in Roxbury, close to Warren Gardens. And so this condo is a total of 2 rooms, 1 open space and a bathroom. And so is there a sliding door that you can consider a bedroom? Absolutely. But this is not even a 1-bedroom. This is a studio condo. It is for sale for $180,000 and $75. It is 619 square feet. It is a deed restricted property. What does that mean? Deed restricted means that this is a City of Boston lottery home that is currently for resale. So if you are not currently pre-approved, it is just you. You are looking for a condo. It's you and your spouse, you and your friend, you and your whoever you're living with. And you guys want to purchase this condo. We are having an open house on Saturday. The open house on Saturday, this is what the unit looks like when it is here. Let me see if I can make this big for you. Let me just share the whole screen. Share screen, and I'll share the entire screen. Okay, so here we go. So this is the unit right here. This is the entire building. This is the rendering of the building. This is what the unit looks like when there's furniture in it. This is what it looks like when you're walking in. This is what it looks like when you're walking out. As soon as you walk in on the left-hand side, this is your coat closet. This is the bathroom on the right-hand side. This is down the hall to the left-hand side, your closet, cubbies, storage, extra space up here. Next to that is your washer and dryer. Again, additional storage here. This is what the unit looks like from the middle of the room. This is nice countertops, stainless steel appliances, the dishwashers, a mini dishwasher. This is inside of the bedroom or in the enclosure of what would be a bedroom. This is what it looks like. It looks small. You're welcome to come out to the open house on Saturday. You could fit a queen size bed in here. A king would be extremely tight, but still could be done. This is the patio that is shared space with other people in the unit. And this is what it looks like out of your window. This is where you have a deeded parking space. This is when you walk into the lobby. Mailboxes over here. There's a mail room over here, a bike rack over here. This is on the second floor. It's community space. These are two office spaces here. This is a gym situation over here. This is the building. And so let's say, for instance, you are ready. Tayla, I want that condo and I want it now. What would you need to do? Let's go through the steps right now for you to purchase this condo. So your first step is you need a pre-approval, period. If you already know that you have a credit score above a 680, you know that you have more than $5,000 in savings, you're a part of the stash program, you have a 1+ Boston mortgage pre-approval, you're ready. Like, you feel confident, you've signed up for a first-time homebuyers class, you have a first-time homebuyers class certificate, whatever, you are prepared. One of the things that you need to know about this deed restricted property is this property was purchased last year, 1 year ago, literally like to date, 1 year ago. It was purchased for $167,000. That purchase is now $10,000. They have $10,000 in equity. It's been 1 year, but in 1 year, they have made $10,000. That is aside from whatever they paid on the mortgage, which brought the mortgage down, which also created equity. So I owe $100,000. I've paid $10,000. So I only owe $90,000, but I'm selling for $110. So that way you have $20,000 worth of equity. Do you understand what I mean? The reason why you are purchasing it at a lower price, it is the same reason why you have to sell it at a lower price. If this was a market rent a market sale, you'd be paying $300,000 for a studio. But because this is an affordable, if you decide to sell it, you need to sell it to somebody else who needs the affordability, that needs a little help, the same way that you needed a little help. And so get your documents together, get your W-2s, get your pay stubs. Right now, it is still open, so you don't need your 2024 taxes, but you do need 2023 and 2022. So 2023, 2022 tax returns on top of your W-2s. You need 3 months of bank statements. And when I say bank statements, this is a city of Boston. It was previously a lottery home, currently a resale, but you still have to go through the process like it was a lottery, in the sense of 3 months of your bank statements. I'm asking you about your Zelle. I'm asking you about your Venmo. I'm asking you about your Cash App. I'm asking you about your Apple Pay, and asking you, you may or may not need to write a letter telling me what this money was spent on. I want you to have all the information, so when they're asking you to write 16 letters about $40 that you sent your nephew, you'll be prepared and won't be frustrated. If you know you are ready, contact the lender, let them know that you are trying to purchase a deed restricted affordable unit and you need a pre-approval immediately. But you cannot expect them to move as fast as you need them to, and you're not doing the same. And so make sure you upload all the documents that are needed, all the documents that are necessary, and all the documents that are asked of you. When it comes to the city of Boston, you may upload those documents to the city, and they may ask you to upload it again. And then you're like, here you go. And they may say, hey, we never got it. Can you upload it again? And you'll be like, oh, no worries. This is weird. And you will upload it again. And they'll be like, we never got it. I want you to be fully prepared. I want you to be fully annoyed up front. So when it happens, you're like, Tayla warned me. I'm not concerned. So this is one of the units that you can stack. You have the stash program. You have the One Plus Boston. You have this grant. You have that grant. Let's stack it all and bring that purchase price down. The condo fees for this unit are $274 per month. And in the condo fees, it covers like all of the masters of the insurances and your water. It gives you the ability to have access to the community space, to the bike rack, to the package room, to the patio space, your deeded parking space. It does not cover your electric. It does not cover your heat. It does not cover your hot water. Those are things that you will have to pay as well. So, Tayla, how do I buy a house? What are the steps that I need to take in order to purchase a house? I believe we went through it already, but where you begin is first in your mind. You first have to determine if you're going to do it this year, because I know for a fact you done said for the last 15 years you was finna buy a house. For the last 3 years you was about to buy a house. For the last 6 months, you're going to get your ish together so you could buy a house. Let me turn this light on. That's better. All right. So first it starts in the mind. Shout out to Allah. Everything is real, because everything, it's all in your mind. Once you say that you're going to do something and you have it in your mind to do, I guarantee once you put your mind to it, it was done. Whatever it is that you decided that you wanted to do, you did it. So the first step is to be mentally prepared. Everybody wants to accomplish the American dream. You have to figure out whether or not you can afford the city. Nobody wants to leave the city of Boston. Nobody wants to leave the comfort of their home. I understand you grew up here. You've lived here for 60 plus years. I get it. I got it. But can you afford it? If not, then let's go where you can afford. Shout out to my cousin Kamal, because one of the things that he's like, yo, up until 50 years ago, 60 years ago, if we couldn't find food, we moved. If we couldn't find a job, we moved. We moved to where the work was. We moved to where the opportunity was. We moved to what was going to be best for us. Today, we're so stagnant, standing still, and paralyze ourselves. So, where do you want to live? Does it align with where you can afford to live? Though it is true that more than 38 million Americans can't afford the housing they have, Harvard's JCHS State of Nations Housing Report of 2017 affirms that southern and Midwestern states have seen as much as a 46% decline in housing costs. Leasing gives you no assurance that leasing payments will not increase, except if you're in a rent-controlled building or city. If your lease increases, the extra money goes to your landlord's pockets, not to your equity. And so homeownership isn't for everybody. Not everybody wants children. Not everybody wants to live in cold ass Massachusetts or hurricane prone Florida. Not everyone needs or wants to get married, and not everyone wants to be a homeowner, and that's okay. But if you do, let's get your mind right and let's get you ready, set to go. Chapter 1, savings. Shout out to my Nana. My Nana told me a long time ago to govern yourself accordingly. Though this is a proverb that was used for any and every area of my life, she habitually used it while referencing money. If you've been a frivolous spender, now is the time to govern yourself accordingly and save your pennies. From cutting back on eating out to taking a break from your favorite vice, now is the time to cut the waste and save it for a place. Let's be real. When you think about how much money you spend on weed, alcohol, going out with friends, spending money on dates, buying your children shit they don't need or appreciate a week later, binge shopping, shopping, we could go down the list, coffees, this, that, outfits, shoes, whatever the hell it is. Take a look at your bank account. What have you been spending your money on? Where can you cut the cost? Where can you have temporary discomfort for long-term security? Down payments. Down payments are typically between 3.5 to 5% of the purchase price. When it comes to some of these affordables, you have to come to the table with 1.5 of your own funds. So that's 1.5 of money coming out of your own pocket bank account, with the other percentages coming through grants, stash, grants, all the grants. First-time home buyers, 3.5 is usually what is needed for FHA loans, where most conventional loans start at 3% for an owner-occupied residence, and can also be 5% if it's not, up to 20%. A lot of people prefer a 20% because of the PMI. PMI is private mortgage insurance. It's basically saying, in case I don't pay, just like you have insurance on your car in case you get into an accident, there's insurance on your mortgage in case you don't pay. Sounds crazy, huh? It exists. If a home is $350,000, you need a minimum of $12,250 for their down payment. Closing costs for my clients average around $7,000. That's $20,000 in total. That's before even walking into the house. Depending on the loan lender, you could have your closing costs subsidized via a soft second mortgage. And so this is where some of the down payment assistance, the closing cost assistance, some of them are soft seconds. A soft second is a second mortgage that is not really your mortgage, but it's monies that you borrowed in order to close on this house that you don't have to pay out of pocket. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat about anything I'm reading, anything I said in the past, anything that someone told you that you don't believe, that you got questions about. What's tricky about down payment assistance programs in the form of soft second mortgage payments are that they typically require you to pay in full if you decide to sell or refinance before the term ends. Every program is different. Everything is different. So there's a lot of variables. This is baseline information. Inspection. Though inspection isn't going to cost you thousands of dollars, I've had clients surprised by a $500 sticker and was just like $500 for an inspection. Yeah, that's $500 that could save you needing a $20,000 roof, needing a $40,000 foundation, needing $22,000 mold remedials. We're gonna act like English is not my second language. But yes, be prepared for the amount of inspection. Closing cost runs as much as 2 to 3% of the actual loan amount, in addition to the 3.5 to 5% that you put down. Closing costs can never be predetermined. 9 times out of 10, you will not know what you need to bring to the table. You'll have an estimate of what you need to bring to the table once we get through the purchase and sales agreement, but you will not know until a good 24 hours before we get to the closing table. Like that dollar amount that you need to write the check out for, yeah, you'll learn that 24 hours before closing. You'll have a better understanding of what it means. Like, oh, I'm gonna need $17,000 to bring to the closing table, but it could really be $15,000 because my lender gave me a credit. Like, it's just, again, so many variables. This is baseline information. They can never be predetermined because the rates are varied on home insurance, taxes, title fees, fees charged from services from attorneys, appraisals, the loan origination fee. My client's average closing cost for a $550,000 home is $10,000. Closing costs can be rolled into the loan. Let's say, for instance, we find a home for $350,000, yet you want to roll the closing cost into the loan. We then offer $360,000 and ask for a $10,000 seller's concession. The seller is not giving you anything. The seller is not paying closing costs. The seller is not giving you money. What the seller is doing is saying, yes, I will allow you to offer me $10,000 over what I am asking for in order for you to get that $10,000 to roll into your mortgage, because you're paying the full $360, but they are only getting their profit out of the $350. You got any questions? I need to break it down. I can, I will. Many agents talk about seller's concessions like the seller is actually paying for your closing costs. They are not. You are. Depending on the loan lender, you could also have your closing costs subsidized via the soft second mortgage. And I just reiterated that you will have to pay in full if you decide to sell or refinance. Prepaid expenses, not applicable in all states. But prepaid expenses are those expenses that the home buyer would pay for upfront. They usually take the home buyers by surprise, but they are indispensable. It's almost impossible to buy a home without paying these expenses beforehand. They are required to fund an escrow account, either a pre-existing one or a new one. These expenses could be taxes, private mortgage insurance, special assessments if you're buying a condo, and hazard insurance, such as flood insurance. Utility adjustments are usually not as much as the other costs, but they rarely amount to more than a few $100s. This is like, sometimes it'll say buyer must pay the water bill, or buyer must pay the electric bill, or it's buyer's due diligence to do the Title V, which is the septic tank for those that are not connected to public sewer. Utility costs are paid to the seller for payments they've made in advance. It's usually comprised of services or commodities such as a homeowners association fee, sewer, trash, and or water bill. Depending on the state, you may need to bring a personal check to pay these the seller for these costs. Cash reserves, and this is if you're purchasing a multifamily. Another significant expense that most home buyers do not consider is the cash reserves. Cash reserves are not part of the closing costs, neither are they paid to the lender. Cash reserves are the funds that a borrower must have in their bank account to show the lender that they are capable of servicing their loan. AKA, if you're going to be a landlord, you have a 3-family and you have $0 in your bank account, how are you going to pay your mortgage if you do not find a tenant in the next 30 days? That's what cash reserves is, to make sure that you have the money and you are financially stable in order to pay for your mortgage, regardless or not if you have a tenant. This is your house. Just because you have a tenant doesn't mean that you don't have to pay the mortgage. It's still a weight on your shoulders that you have to foot the bill, even if you don't have someone in there helping you with the mortgage. These funds do not have to be deposited to the lender, but the lender must be able to verify that these funds are indeed available. So they can't be like, oh, my mom let me borrow some money and put the money in. No, this has to be your money in your account. This is for multifamilies only. And at one time, you had to have 6 months reserve. So let's say, for instance, your mortgage was $2,000. You had to have $6,000 in reserves just in case you were unable to fill the vacancies of your unit. You had this reserve to pay your mortgage. If you're looking to buy a 3-family, okay, gave that example already. Understanding why credit is king. If you are aware that your credit score is the lifeline of home, that was a question. Are you aware that your credit score is the lifeline to homeownership? The quality of your credit score, either good or bad, will determine your eligibility to take out a mortgage and what rate you will be charged. If you have a 580, you're not going to have the same interest rate on a car, on a house, on a loan, on a credit card than someone who has a 750. A 750, someone with a 750 is like, oh, they pay all their bills on time. They've never been late. They have they're good. I'm going to get my money from them. But if you have a 580, you owe T-Mobile, you didn't pay Old Navy, Capital One is looking for you. What is the other Credit One? You got a Credit One credit card and all the other creditors looking at, like, why would I give you $300,000 to buy a house when they gave you $2,000 and you couldn't pay that back? Like, it goes to how are we going to interact together financially? Can I trust you? What are you coming to the table with? Are you coming to the table with bad credit, or are you coming to the table with great credit? And a lot of people that have quote unquote bad credit don't have credit. They don't trust banks. They don't trust their money. They don't trust credit cards, and they deal primarily in cash or a debit card. And we'll get to why that's problematic in a minute. FICO has become a significant determinant of consumer lender in the United States. It was founded in 1956 by 2 men that worked together at Stanford Research Institute. FICO was initially the Fair, Isaac and Company, named after the founders William Bill Fair, who was an engineer, and Earl Judson Isaac, who was a mathematician. In 1958, the two started pitching their ideas to 50 American lenders who then and now use scores to gauge potential borrowers' credit worthiness. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were the first ones to use FICO scores to determine if consumers qualify for their mortgages when they were out here engaging in predatory and racial practices. If we're going to be honest, I'm going to be honest, okay? And so credit bureaus are not governmental organizations. However, they are publicly traded. Therefore, the federal government has put specific legislation in place to regulate their activities and protect citizens. This is why if there's something on your credit report that is incorrect, it can be removed. They are not a government agency. They have laws in place where they have to abide by these laws. There's a lot of things that are being done on your credit report that you allow because you don't know the difference, because you don't know your rights. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is to pull your credit. Once you pull your credit, I want you to look on everything. Look at how is your name spelled? Where is the address that you currently live at? Do they have an address from 15 years ago? Well, that address being on there means your entire report is incorrect. I mean, like this is law. If you have 72 Fuller Street on 72 Fuller Street on your credit report and you currently live at 25 Vargas Street, that's incorrect. It's not a correct credit report. And so look at everything and dispute it. My name is spelled wrong. I don't live at this address. My name was never this. I've never applied for this credit card. I don't know who ran my credit for an inquiry, but nothing came of that. I don't have a credit card from this individual. So dispute absolutely everything. They have 45 days to get back to you. And if they don't, send them another letter and another letter and another letter and another letter. And this has to be like by hand. You can type it out, but mail it and do a return receipt. Not that they have to sign for it, but you want tracking that it was received. So you have proof. Hey, I haven't heard from you in 45 days. Because I haven't even heard from you, you failed to respond. Remove it. I don't care if it was right, wrong, false. It has to be removed because you failed to respond. There's things out here that are put in place to protect you, but if you don't know your rights, you can't protect yourself. The law that governs the actions of these agencies is called the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FRCA. The credit bureaus provide analytic tools for companies so they know whether to loan you money and if they do, at what interest rate to charge you. The credit bureaus are not in charge of making decisions. However, they do provide necessary information for money lending institutions to make decisions. So if they're making decisions on wrong information, that's on you for not clearing up that wrong information because no one's going to clean it up for you. Why are credit scores so crucial in purchasing a home? Imagine you're on social media and someone tries to friend or follow your page. You go to their page and you see one of your good friends is their friend. What is the first thing you finna do? You about to go call your friend and say, hey, is this your mans in them? How you know them? What do you know about them? They just try to friend me on whatever site. And so you want background information, you want some context of who this person is before you give them access to your private social media world. Credit is the same thing. Who are you? And how do you manage your money before I provide you access to more? Let's say your cousin calls you and asks you for $100 for an emergency. You have it, but you know this cousin has borrowed money from everyone in the family and still hasn't paid nobody back. Do you give your cousin $100? I heard everyone say no. Or do you tell them that you don't have it? Or do you be honest and say, you ain't finna pay me back, and so I ain't finna give it to you? Unless you're feeling generous and decide to give your cousin money, understanding that you'll never get it back, but no, God will bless you in the end, you'll most likely be telling them no. Your friend calls you and tells you they need $1,000. No explanation given, just a request for the money. This friend has borrowed money in the past and has given it back to you. You'd be more inclined to give your friend $1,000 than you would your cousin $100 because of the history that person has with money. That's credit, period. That is the essence of credit scores. A mortgage is a 15 to 30-year commitment. Aside from student loans, for most Americans, it is the most significant loan you'll ever apply for. Therefore, the bank, aka the lender, releases the funds to you, need to be assured that they are going to get their money back in the form of a mortgage payment every month. Your credit score is what will determine the interest rate at which you will be able to get your loan. The better the credit, the higher your chances of getting more favorable interest rates. The question then becomes, what credit score do I need to have for a reasonable interest rate? Credit scores range anywhere between 300 and 850, with 850 being a coveted number that most Americans aspire to be. I'm really happy sitting pretty at my 820 right now. We all got that one cousin with A1 credit. That means anywhere between 750 and 850. Anything below this reduces your chances of getting the lowest interest rates. In states of Massachusetts, a person purchasing a house using a 30-year fixed loan for the amount of $350,000 has a credit score of 760 to 850, can be approved for an APR of 3.4. Baby, this book was written in 2020. You better add 3 more points to that, because we in a whole different ball game right now. But at that time, that's what. Hi, Bubs.
Hi, Queen.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm teaching a class so people can buy a house. Did you read your book yet?
I have not. I'm about to go to the library though.
I love that for us.
I accidentally left my wallet in Brian's car yesterday, so I'm gonna go to the library, find me a book, and I'm gonna go to his house to get my wallet.
Okay.
And hopefully convince him to take me to Joanne's.
I love you.
Love you too. I'm hopefully gonna find a pattern or something for us so we can sew.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Did you hear the we part?
I did.
Okay, I just want to stick that in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So we.
I'm excited.
Okay.
So my pattern, I think I want a onesie, like a jumpsuit.
I'll see what Joanne's has.
Like a leotard jumpsuit type situation.
Oh, I see.
I want to make my own.
Again, I'll see what Joanne's has. But because I want zippers and buttons, so I can hopefully find a replacement button for my pants.
Oh.
Zippers and buttons, fabric, and then a pattern.
So Joann's isn't the best for fabric. Like
I mean, Joann's is literally called a fabric store.
And they don't have the best fabric.
Yeah, but I also only have a Joann's gift card currently.
That's like going to Olive Garden for Italian food versus going to Maggiano's. Like, it's not the same.
I know, but I don't have a gift card anywhere else. So
okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
And so maybe, plus it's also just practice fabric anyways. So.
We got a bunch of clothes on the back porch that can be practice fabric.
No. Hashtag from scratch.
Okay.
Okay, that's all. Bye.
Bye. So basically, long story short, if you have bad credit, you're going to be paying more for the house than somebody else with good credit. Money lenders are more likely to trust those who take out loans more often than those who more often and do not default and have a history of paying their debts on time and in full. If you take out, this is a trick actually, if you take out small personal loans and pay them back before or on time, it can increase your credit score and will be looked at favorably to the underwriter, aka the gatekeeper of your loan, especially if you don't have years of credit history. And so that's a tip if like you never had credit and you're just now building credit, you don't have the money to buy trade lines, which is something that I can help you with if that's what you need. But you can go ahead and get like a loan, even if it's a $200 loan from the bank, and let it sit and pay it back $50, $50, $50, $50, and then it's paid up. And then you go back and get another loan and pay it back and pay it back and pay it back. And so it's showing like, oh, you borrowed this money and you paid it back. You're building your credit worthiness. You're building trust. I'm not going to beat a dead horse because there's like 50,000 pages about how to clean your credit, what it looks like to clean your credit, how I have a document that you can purchase in order to, well, if you bought the book, you already have the document. But if you did not buy the book, how you can purchase the document that will help you clean up your credit. What does that look like for you to clean your credit on your own without having to pay an organization? It also has all of like the addresses of where you have to send it, how to send it, et cetera, et cetera. If that's something that you need or something that you're interested in, slide in the DM. I charge $25. It's literally cut and paste. You put your information in, you print it out, you sign it, you send it with a I want a confirmation of delivery. You have to send your ID with like proof of identification with your social security card or a copy of your social security card, copy of your license or your passport. And that's another reason why you should send it with not a return receipt, but a confirmation. So you know that your personal information made it to where it was supposed to be. Not beating a dead horse. This shows a little bit of like what it looks like for the copy and paste. The letter that you will copy, paste, and send. Building a good team. Of course, you want a real estate agent. Hey, how you doing? Asaria! She left. Of course, you need a real estate agent. I'm Tayla Andre. Tayla made real estate easy. Your real estate agent is, let me back up. Your agent broker will have you sign documents solidifying your relationship. We are like women. We're like humans in relationships. No, I don't want to share you. No, I don't want to waste my time. No, you can't have 2 or 3 agents that you work with because some people have access to this and some people have access to that. I'm not the agent for you. If you want to work with 2 other people, that's fine. Go work with them. But if you're going to work exclusively with me, I'm going to work exclusively for you. And so any agent is going to want you to sign those documents saying that we are in a relationship. Real estate brokers and agents can be used interchangeably when referring to a person. But I want to clarify that a real estate broker is typically the owner of a real estate company, while a real estate agent has not obtained their brokerage license. For me, being a real estate agent allows me to play with the babies and give them back to their parents, while being a real estate broker, you are financially, legally, ethically, morally responsible for other people in your brokerage, regardless of how they conduct themselves in the real world. You are responsible. And so I'm a parent of 3 kids. I have no desire in being a broker. That doesn't mean that I know less. It just means that I don't want to be legally, financially, ethically, morally responsible for the actions of other people when I could barely control my own children. But shout out to my broker because he is an amazing leader. Alex E. Edwards, drop a 7 in the chat. He is a fearless leader that has navigated being a broker effortlessly. Like I knew he was going to be a good dad because he was a great leader and a great broker. The reason, if you live in New England or Georgia and do not choose to work with me, please find an agent that is compatible with your personality, or ask me about one of my teammates that are literally nationwide. And we are on your side. The reason why you should choose to buy or sell property with a real estate agent is because we are licensed, educated professionals that have access to registered properties, networks, and relationships that Sam Civilian does not. Real estate agents are like significant others. We don't like being cheated on. In my experience, one of the reasons why people tend to work with different agents is because the initial agent that they were working with was not giving them the time and attention, so they sought someone else for help. Also, in my experience, agents tend to ignore the clients that have not proved they are serious about buying a house. If you don't have a pre-approval, no, we're not seeing anything. And one of my friends called me the other day. She was just like, Tayla, can we go see a house? And before I could even say anything, she was like, I got my pre-approval. I was just like, it's literally been 4 years. But can we go see houses? No, I don't. But no. If you want to come see a house that me and a client have already scheduled to see, cool. But what we're not doing is wasting my time going to look at houses and you're not pre-approved. If you have 10 real estate agents running around showing you properties and none of them had you sign a relationship disclosure, and you decide to buy your home with Tayla, and now you have 9 other agents that are furious that they wasted their time. Adversely, if I sign a relationship agreement with Tim Realty, helped you buy your adversely, if you and I sign a relationship agreement, but Tim Realty helped you buy your house, I now have to sue you and Tim because we had a legally binding contract stating that I was your agent. The relationship with your agent should be a lifelong partnership. And so choose somebody that you love and who's going to be part of your family. A great agent will save you time, headaches, and disappointment. Work with an agent that you can trust, an agent that is dedicated to you, respects your wants and needs. I had a client that told me exactly what she wanted, yet every house she sent me was the exact opposite of what it is that she said that she wanted. She was so upset with me that I refused to show her properties that she did not really want. One day, out of frustration, I scheduled us to see 4 properties she thought she would love. We ended up leaving the first one before viewing the entire property. She said, "Okay, I trust you. We don't have to see the other 3." Sometimes you just have to do things so people can understand why you don't do things. Closing attorney. We do not have to use football terminology for the entire book, but that's mainly because I understand that none of sports, but I do understand as a New Englander the importance of Tom Brady as a quarterback, and he left us. The role of your attorney is just as crucial as the Patriots quarterback. Your attorney will make sure you get the title for your property, your loan documents are accurate, registering the deed of ownership, and most importantly, your attorney will negotiate legalities on your behalf. And so I, as your real estate agent, will negotiate terms and conditions, maybe some items in the home, price point. But when it comes to the attorney, there's legalities behind the scene that they are going to negotiate on your behalf. Your inspector. An inspector will carefully and meticulously detect defects, sometimes hidden by sellers, not always. Like, people tend to think that sellers don't want to tell us the truth. 9 times out of 10, a seller wants to tell you the truth. The seller does not want you to experience what they experienced. They don't want you to go through the hell that they had to go through because somebody didn't tell them. In my experience, sellers want to disclose. Sellers want to be honest. They want to be transparent because they knew how it felt when somebody wasn't honest with them. The inspector checks all the components of the property, included but not limited to the roof, attic, interior, and exterior structures, plumbing, electrical, heating, insulation, air conditioning, ventilation, pest, and possible hazardous materials. I tend to work with one of 3 different inspecting companies, depending on whether the home is a single family, multi-family, or whether or not the buyer wants to exercise his or her right to inspect for lead, radon, asbestos, or pest. While choosing an inspection company, you don't want to be cheap. You want to get what you paid for. You want somebody who's going to do what they need to do. So look at the Google reviews. Look at how long have they been in business for. I shout out to Tiger Inspections. I love Tiger. I tend to call Tiger because they're open after hours. You can give them a call at any time. Inspections are rather quick. You can really get a turnaround. If you need an emergency one in 48 hours, 72 hours, you don't have to go the full 10 days for an inspection. And they're licensed, they're bonded, they're everywhere across Massachusetts. And so I really like Tiger Inspections, completely thorough, and I enjoy working with them. I believe some of the best inspectors were prior contractors or familiar with the building process. Lead paint was widely used for years until 1971 Lead Poisoning Prevention Act, but it wasn't until 1974 when government realized the deteriorating lead paint dust was harmful to children if the home was built before 1978. There's a chance that lead paint still remains somewhere in the home, even if it was newly renovated. It could be in the basement, it could be in the attic, it could be on the exterior trim of the house. Many homes built between 1930s and 1950s have asbestos. And insulation, though, as an insulation, those are they were banned in 1977. Most homes that have not been updated may still have asbestos present. Like lead, unless deteriorating or tampered with, asbestos is not harmful. Unlike asbestos or lead, radon is naturally occurring radioactive gas that can cause lung cancer. The gas cannot be seen nor smelled. The only way to know your level of exposure is to test. And a radon test is usually, they put it in the basement because it comes through the foundation cracks. And you typically see it more in suburban areas. I haven't seen any radon mediations here in the city or in major cities or the gateway cities. And so radon is something that you do want to check for if you're getting something like the Avons, the Cantons, Melrose. Naturally occurring, isn't everywhere, but can be harmful if you don't detect it. Your inspection report, because you are the customer and companies respect your privacy, your real estate agent does not have access to your inspection report unless you give it to us, unless you give them permission to give it to us. However, you can share it with him or her to negotiate a reduction in price of the home based on what the needs are or what should be repaired or replaced. Your inspection report is a document accompanied by supporting photos and sometimes videos. A lender, bank, credit union. A pre-approval does not commit you to contract your mortgage with a particular lender. When you're ready to apply for a mortgage, you can work with another bank. Let's say, for instance, the reason why I wrote that is, let's say, for instance, we put an offer in on a house today, and you're like, Tayla, damn, like, Bank of America doesn't have this grant that Blue Bank has. Can we please go to Blue Bank so I can get this additional grant? Absolutely. The pre-approval you put an offer in on doesn't have to be the pre-approval that we close on, but you will have to go through the process all over again of uploading all your documents and having your credit pinged so they can know your credit score. And I basically broke down exactly what I just said. The lenders that I work with have no more than a 12-hour turnaround. Remember when I mentioned making sure your real estate agent has a relationship with your lender? So if your agent needs to get a modified pre-approval, you're not waiting and risking the possibility of you losing your home to put an offer in. Let's say, for instance, you're pre-approved for $1 million, but you just found a house for $600,000. Do you show them all your cards? Or do you play poker and say, I'm pre-approved for $600,000 and take off the additional monies? So yes, you do want to be able to have access. Hey, listen, I need a pre-approval for $630. I need approval for $725. Each house is a different price point. You don't want to put all your cards on the table because now they could counter the offer and say, instead of $715, we want $800,000. What's it matter to you? You're pre-approved for $1 million. Just something for you to think about. What does your home look like? The more you refine your desires, the less time you'll spend looking at houses that don't meet your minimum. It's just like dating. If you have no idea what you want in a woman, in a man, you're going to date anything and everything. But if you know what you need, you want, you desire, you require, you're not going to waste your time with dusties because you know exactly what it is you're looking for. Same thing with your house. What city do you want to live in? How far do you want to live from your current job? What school system do you want your children to attend? Where is your support system, your friends, your family, someone to pick up the kids from school, side street, cul-de-sac, main street, near water, on a hill, corner lot, square footage, parcel size of the land, interior living space, bedrooms and bathroom minimum, with or without a garage, garden area, open floor plan, willing to put some work in, buying a fixer-upper, single story, multi-level. Have you defined the house of your dream and what it looks like? Does it align with your pre-approval amount? If you're happy with how much savings you have, content with where your credit score is, and have defined what your home looks like, now is the time to get a pre-approval and call me, Tayla Andre, your real estate agent. There's a difference between being pre-qualified and being pre-approved. If you go online right now, put in that you make $100,000 a year, your credit score is a 750, and you have no debt, you could absolutely be pre-qualified in 10 minutes for $800,000. But once I get you in front of a loan officer that takes a look at your bank statements and how much money you make and how much savings you have, you'll really be pre-approved for $150. There's a difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. Hopefully you understand. If you don't, drop a question in the chat, I'll answer it. Your pre-approval is based on an algorithm of information after pulling your credit report, analyzing the contents of that report against your credit score. A pre-approval is what is acceptable when trying to put an offer in on a house. A pre-qualification will have it in the trash. If you do not already have a relationship with your credit union or a lender, I can connect you with one. This is going through what I just said. Pre-approvals are not cookie cutter, one size fits all. Had clients that were married and collectively made $200,000 annually. But because the husband had decent credit, the wife's credit was in need of repair. They both had car loans totaling over $1,500 a month. They were pre-approved for $300,000, even though, so what's typical is how much do you make yearly? Multiply that by 4. That is typically what you will be pre-approved for a single family. Add an additional $75,000 to $100,000 if you want a 2-family. Add an additional $75,000 to $100,000 if you want a 3-family. So if you want a 3-family, you're adding $125,000 to $300,000 in order to know what that limit is. So you make $100,000 a year, times that times 4, you're looking at approximately $400,000. I'm a real estate agent, not a loan officer, but this is basic information that I want you to understand. This is not taking into account your credit score, nor is it taking into account your debt to income ratio, which really kicks people in the ass because your income, you make $3,000 a month, but you spend $2,500 a month. You have $500 of dispensable income or income that you can use to purchase a home. So even if you make $300,000, they made $200,000 collectively, but because her credit was bad, they had car notes that were equaling $1,500 on top of their credit cards, on top of their spending. They were only pre-approved for $300,000. But what's $200,000 times 4? They should have been pre-approved for approximately $800,000. Taking in consideration the other variables brought them to $300,000. After working on the wife's credit and removing one of the vehicles, they were pre-approved for $425,000. Even though there are online calculators that can tell you what you're pre-qualified for, this can be misleading because there are so many other variables that are in play that just plug and play isn't going to do for you. You actually have to have somebody put eyes on it and have a better understanding. Okay, but Tayla, I want to get an idea of what it is that I want. Can you show me some houses? Absolutely not. There are open houses every weekend. You do not need a real estate agent to go and window shop at an open house. If that's what you want to do, window shop at an open house. Please don't ask these agents to come with you and you are not pre-approved. This is where you're going to get heartbroken. Take a look on any website that features properties for sale. You're going to have your heart set on a certain style of home, features that you want, fixtures that you're fond of, and then you find out your pre-approval is for $325,000 and that you've been looking at houses at $675,000. Get your pre-approval first so you can know what to look for and what your budget is. One of the things that I tell my clients is sleep on it. If you wake up and your heart is flooded, I can't tell you how many times I walked in a house and was just knowing to myself, yeah, this is the one, this is our house. And I want to say I have a 70%. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at what I do. Understanding loan types. And so a HUD or FHA, people use HUD, FHA interchangeably, but in the spirit of giving you the knowledge you need, I want you to clarify that HUD is the Department of Housing and Urban Development. It is a federal cabinet level agency that oversees federal programs such as FHA, which is the Federal Housing Administration. FHA loan is a type of mortgage that can be used for purchasing a house, refinancing a current home loan, or for the renovation of a property. My favorite loan in the whole wide world is a 203K, and we will talk about the benefits of a 203K once we get there. And so these loans are the forerunner initiatives of the United States government, which aims to provide minimal cost home loans for borrowers. Provide minimal costs for, oh, wow. I found a movie mistake. Loans are backed by the government. So if you default and fail to pay your mortgage, the federal government will reimburse the lender what you owe. This is why FHA loans have a lower interest rate, because the government is going to back you and support you either way. However, it is crucial to understand that FHA guarantee does not protect borrowers. It protects the bank. You will experience a forfeiture if you do not pay your mortgage. And depending on what state you're in, you can get a, listen, so foreclosures or a pre-foreclosure, you might see a whole bunch of pre-foreclosures when you're on like the Zillows, the Redfins, you might see a pre-foreclosure. That means somebody missed 1 month of their mortgage. It doesn't mean you're about to come in and buy it for half the price that it's worth. A pre-foreclosure means that they missed a mortgage payment. It could be 1, it could be 3, it could be 5. It just means that at least 1 mortgage payment was missed. And even the auction list, if you follow the auction list, many auctions say canceled because they were on the pre-foreclosure list, on the auction list, and then went ahead and did what they needed to do for whatever type of modification or understanding between them and the bank. FHA loans help individuals to finance over 95% of their down payment for their houses, while conventional money lenders loan up to 80%. This is where the 5% down and the 20% down came from. Hence why your down payment is only 3.5% to 5%. Conventional lenders require you to provide at least 5% if it is a single family occupied home. You can get it for 3%. Not all lenders have 3%. Every lender, every loan officer, every broker, every bank, every credit union is like a bodega. The bodega down the street doesn't have what, when I was in Roxbury bodega don't have Mattapan bodegas. Like there's different products. Think about your loans like that. Not everybody has access to grants. Not everybody has access to different types of funding and different types of programming. And so just be mindful that what you're looking at may not be what you want. So to be clear, and you want to shop around, like what are your upfront rates? What are your upfront points? What is the upfront cost? What are you charging me on the back end? So I know when you look on the Zillows, the Redfins, and the rest of them, it's like, oh, like do the calculation of what your mortgage payment would look like. And it's just like, oh, we'll give you this rate. We have the lowest interest rates. We have the lowest this, but you don't know what the points are on the back end. So it's important to ask a lot of questions. The 203K FHA. Okay, so 203K FHA just increased their loan amount limits. And so if you are pre-approved for $600,000, we find a house for $300,000, you have $300,000 to play with to make this your dream home. You're pre-approved for $1 million. We find you a $500,000 house, you have $500,000 to play with. You're currently a homeowner now. And with you being a homeowner now, your home needs a little bit of work. I don't care if your porch needs to be done, if grandma's house needs to be done, if the roof needs to be done. You can use a 203K to renovate your current home if you are a homeowner. You have questions, inbox me, we'll talk. But a 203K essentially is an FHA product where it allows you to put 3.5% down and renovate the hell out of whatever house you purchase. It just has to have a house, a foundation. It has to have a structure. And so I'm so excited. One of the clients that I referred out to one of my amazing agents found a house in South Carolina, 10 acres of land with this little itty bitty shack, this teeny tiny shack, like literally 800 square feet shack, 10 acres of land. Because that shack was on that land, purchased with a 203K, renovated the shack, but also added to the back. They built their dream home. But listen, you can't just be like, oh, I found land, I want to use. You can't. It has to have a structure on it. You can always build on top of the structure. You can always extend the structure. What you cannot, you have to use the footprint, but you can add to the footprint as well. Okay, convention loan is a private loan not supported or backed by government agency. Conventional loan terms vary from 15, 20, 25, or 30 years. The shorter the repayment duration, the larger the monthly payment. Flexible fixed rates are available for a specified duration of time, usually 3 to 7 years. The homeowner pays lower interest and can save thousands up front because the rate is flexible. There is a possibility of the rate increasing. The difference between FHA and conventional, if you did not know, you finna learn. Conventional borrowers have down payment restrictions, such as obtaining a portion through means of a gift. Conventional borrowers are also required to have higher credit scores than FHA borrowers. FHA typically have lower interest rates because they are backed by the government and present less of a risk. Though FHA loans are known to have lower interest rates, buyers are forced to pay mortgage insurance premiums, MIPs, which is different from home insurance. Even though the loan is backed by the government, you still have to pay a just-in-case insurance in case you default. This can be rolled into your closing costs or into your monthly payments, typically for the duration of the loan. Conventional loans have something similar called private mortgage insurance. PMI nor MIP have anything to do with your home insurance. The only way to avoid conventional loan PMI is to put down 20%. Again, this is where the 20% came from. Over the course of your loan, if you put down 20%, you're more likely to save more money. Remember, conventional loans require a minimum of 5% down payment, but until your loan to value is at 80%, you are still required to pay the just in case I fail to pay insurance. Once you've paid off 20% of the loan, it can either fall off by itself. You can call and ask for it to be requested. They may charge you $50, $100, $750, depending on who your lender is, to send somebody out, an appraiser, to go and look at the house and say, hey, this is the appraised value. And that appraised value, with all of what you've already paid into your mortgage, you now are at 20%. You no longer have to pay PMI. And so it can fall off and reduce your mortgage amount by $200, $300, $400 per month. Another difference between FHA and conventional loans is that FHA requires borrowers to occupy the home for a minimum of 1 year as their principal residence. The FHA allots a 60-day grace period for the owner to move into the property following the closing date. This is to discourage borrowers from obtaining affordable rates to use properties and then flip them. VA loans. Shout out to my veterans. I am the daughter, the granddaughter, the niece, I was going to say the nephew, the goddaughter of veterans. I absolutely love my vets, all that they do, all the things that the family sacrificed for. VA loan. Who is a veteran? A person who was considered an active service member during wartime for 90 consecutive days or 181 days of successful peacetime duty. Pending 6 years or more as an active member of the National Guard or Reserves, or has married to a service member who is either disabled, deceased, or deceased as a result of his or her duty. Veteran Affairs Administration does not originate loans. The VA does not originate loans, but they do cover the cost in case the veteran happens to default. The veteran must purchase the home to use as their primary residence and cannot use the loan for an investment or vacation property. They can use it for a multifamily if they reside within that multifamily. Veterans do not have to pay down payment or PMI. Although there is no PMI or down payment required, there is a funding fee that can be paid for upfront or can be rolled into the loan amount. Veterans can utilize their VA status to obtain a loan unlimited amount of times. So if we bought a house, my veteran, my baby, hey, how are you? Let's buy a house. So we buy a house this year. It's your primary residence. You buy it with your VA loan. You refinance. You put it into a conventional loan. And guess what? It's already appraised in that 20%. So there is no PMI. And then we go and buy you another VA property. And then a year passed by, and then you're like, Tayla, I want another one. And we buy you another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, until you have 18 different properties as a veteran. Baby, use it to your advantage. Anybody a veteran want to get married real quick? You know, in Massachusetts, you know, lesbianism is real. It can be man or woman. Yo, I want to marry a veteran so bad. I didn't have the guts, the courage, or the patience to be told what to do to be a veteran. So unfortunately, I'm just the relative of one and not one myself. We ready? And so you have your dream team consisting of your agent, attorney, a lender, and inspector. You have your pre-approval in hand and have been receiving the emails I have been sending you in regards to what you desire your home to look like and the area that you want it to look like and the pre-approval amount that you are approved for. We have a check in hand for $1,000 with your signature. Really quickly, why is this important? The check will not be cashed. I just want it signed and to say $1,000 on it. I will take a picture of it. I will put it in my secure, handy dandy, locked up file cabinet. But with that picture, I can go ahead and say, you know, Blue Realty, Red Realty, address A, address B. I don't have to keep asking you over and over and over again for a check. If you currently do not have checks, but you're going in the process of purchasing, you can use a bank check. Right now, we're really doing things digitally. You can go ahead and pay to digitally send over your $1,000, which is so much better than sending it in the mail or dropping it off at a mailbox. Long story short, there's the reason why the check is important is because it's necessary. And if I send over, there are some agents that all you have to do is send them the offer. You don't have to send over anything else but the offer, put them in email with the lender, and they're good. They'll contact the lender. They'll figure out everything else. But there's other real estate agents that want the entire gamut. I want the relationship agreement. I want the pre-approval. I want a proof of funds. I want bank statements. I want this. I want that. Like it depends. Every agent is different, requires whatever it is that they require. But what we're not going to do is not be prepared. And so I have had some pushback, like, why do you need a check? Like, what are you going to do with a blank check? It's not a blank check. It's $1,000 check with your signature on it that is blank to whatever real estate agent, whatever escrow company that is going to hold that $1,000 when your offer is accepted. And so it just makes sense, because if you're at work and you have a check on you, you're in a meeting, I'm trying to get the offer accepted. They're like, where the check at? Where's the proof of funds? Where's the earned monies? And I'm like, oh, they're at work. They're like, okay, well, I have another offer that has everything. And so I don't like to be unprepared. Pictures of properties are as deceiving as waist trainers, baseball hats, hand and feet size, and push-up bras. Now that you know that, your heart can be broken. Photos are so deceptive. Just like that headshot, every time I see one of y'all in real life, you're like, You so little. I thought you was tall. Everybody thinks I'm 5'7". I am literally 5'2". I might be 5'3" on a good day, but pictures make things look different. And so I don't want you to be deceived. I want you to expect the house to look 1,000 times worse. They are showing you the photos of what they want you to see. I am showing you the angles that I want you to see. Same difference. This is giving you insight. When you see a property that you think you like firsthand, do a Google search. I can't tell you how many times I'm like, do a Google search. Like, we're not going to see anything until you do a Google search. Look at the streets. And it was like, oh, damn, Tayla, like it's right near a cemetery. Aren't you glad you Google searched it? No, Tayla, it's right next to a river. I don't want to live near a river. Like, do a Google search. Take a look at the map, the surrounding area. Make sure you're happy with the location. Is the house pushed back from the street? Is there enough space for your vehicles? Possible guests if you host a party. Is there enough green space for you? Does it have a fenced-in yard? Is it on a main street with heavy traffic? What does the neighborhood look like? How close are your neighbors? What are the stores and other facilities in the area? Pay attention to the details in the photos. Can you see whether or not the roof is leaking and needs repair? Take a look at the ceilings in the photos. Any watermarks indicating a leak? Is it obvious that the electrical needs to be rewired? Is the furnace going to need to be replaced? Become a detective looking past the decor, the wall colors, and play where's the catch. If you know that you have a king size bed, be mindful of the square footage. For instance, if you're looking to purchase a 3-bedroom and the square footage is 1,500 square feet, raised ranch, you guarantee you're going to have 2 of the 3 bedrooms be really small with little to no closet space. If one of your must-haves is a man cave or a sheet shed and the basement is unfinished with low ceilings and a dirt floor, you have to take a moment and figure out what's more important. The fact that this property has a huge yard or the fact that you won't have your finished basement. If you don't have reserves or money to make updates to the kitchen and bathroom, but want something modern, don't waste your time seeing properties that don't meet the criteria, or understand you may need to lower your standards and make up updates at a later date. So the offer, you found your home you think you like, it has everything you want, and it's in your price range. You attend that open house with or without your agent because it's an open house. Now, if we do an independent showing, that's completely different. But for the most part, I like attending open houses because I am a real estate agent. I am not an inspector, but I have been through this process so many times. I'm looking. I've been to every inspection for every house. I'm listening. I'm asking questions. I'm understanding. I'm not an inspector, but I want to be able to walk into a house and be like, listen, the inspector's going to say something about that. The inspector's going to say something about that. The inspector's really going to appreciate this. The inspector is not going to like that. So when the inspector comes in, they're like, oh, A, B, C, D. You're like, oh yeah, Tayla told me that. So it's not something that you like, damn, this is a lot. It's just like, no, these are the things that inspectors are going to point out. And so I just want you to be aware and not to be scared. Because again, I'm giving you all my flaws. Now you can figure out whether or not you want to move forward or whether you want to walk away. You attend an open house with your agent because open houses are open to the public and not required for your agent to be there. See the home and the photos are exactly what you expected and you want to submit an offer. Your agent is in the office putting together the documents along with a copy of the $1,000 check that you gave him or her weeks ago. One of my clients ended up submitted over 13 different offers on 13 different properties within the span of a year and a half, and we only used one check because I made a copy of the original and added the real estate or escrow company's name in the memo and added the address. Of course, the date as well. It's important for your real estate agent to have this check in hand. We already went through that. What does an offer look like? This is very simple. For the most part, this is what it looks like state to state, but it could look different in your state. And it's tiny anyways. You're not really going to see all that. Most of what you see is self-explanatory. There are things that I do want to point out. So what do we want to point out? To the owner of record, the date from the office of Thumbprint Realty. The property herein referred to as identified as follows. This is all legal language because this is a legal document. Full property address and type, single family, multifamily, condo. Special provisions, if any, include any and all fixtures and appliances in good condition and working order. What time is it? Okay, we have a couple minutes. I got to get prints. Hereby, this offer was offered, hereby offer to buy said property, which has been offered to me by whatever the listing brokerage is. And so I will pay offer price in either check or cash. For $1,000 will be paid to the deposit to bind this offer. B is like to be paid additionally at the purchase and sale agreement. C, to be paid at the time of delivery of the deed in a cashier's check or bank check. E, the total purchase price. D could be like $3,000 to benefit construction to fix the roof. So there's a way that you can have, how do I explain this? Let's say, for instance, there is a house that you want to purchase for $100,000. You already had the your inspector come out with you and they said, hey, listen, there's, some roof issues that need to be patched up. You don't have the money right now to pay that. But in this purchase price, this money that we're getting from the bank, I want to purchase the house for $95,000. I want $5,000 to go to benefits construction, and they're going to fix the roof. That is what could be in that line item. This offer is good until on this date. This is the closing time. This is the inspection time. These are the incorporated references or addendums that we want to add. Buyer signature, seller's signature. We are accepted. So our offer was accepted. Now we drop off that $1,000 check that is now fully filled in. So the listing agent can back the executed offer with a seller's signature, agreeing to sell you based on the terms and conditions of the offer. It's time for us to call the inspector, find out how soon we can set up the appointment, how much it's going to cost based on the square footage, whether it's a single or a multi. At this time, I'm sending the accepted offer to both the attorney and the lender. The inspector comes out, takes a look at the house from the top to bottom, tells you absolutely everything from the beginning to the end, every flaw, so you can make an informed decision about whether or not you want to move forward. And I want you to understand right now that there's brand new construction homes that still have something wrong with it. So don't think for 5 seconds just because it was built yesterday, you're the first person to move in. You're going to have more problems with the new construction than you are with the house that's 100 years old with the tree in the tree trunk in the basement. You want to know why? Because it's been there for 100 years. It ain't going nowhere. Where that new construction was built by the little piggy where all his house got blown down. Because these houses ain't built with shit today. You're never going to find the perfect home that doesn't have electrical outlets that aren't grounded, or a furnace that doesn't need to be replaced, or cracks in the baseboard, or maybe a leaky faucet, or a pipe that needs to be replaced. There's always going to be something. As a homeowner, there is always something, okay? I can't tell you, I've changed 2 faucets by myself because I was not calling a plumber. I changed 2 faucets successfully, very happy, very proud, very demure. And it is a lot of work. It's yard work. It's electrical work. It's, setting up closet systems. It's making sure that the water pressure for your tenant is good. It's a lot. Okay, but it's worth it, and I absolutely love it. But you're never going to find the perfect home. And even when you do find the perfect home, listen, I just switched out the knobs in my kitchen because I wanted something a little sexier. The other ones were boring and plain, and I wanted something that sparkled a little bit. Just change the knobs. I want to do my bathroom over. There's always going to be something that you're going to want to do. Period. Do. So the inspector walks into the home, sends you the report, you take a look, and there's a few things that need to be fixed, but no major issues, like the boiler, the furnace, the roof, the electrical. But you do want the seller to reduce the purchase price because the back porch needs to be replaced. The leaky faucet in the kitchen is causing mold under the sink, and we just found out that you called an exterminator for powder post beetles. The owner makes a counter offer and says that they will take $5,000 off. They'll fix the leaky faucet, the mold under the sink, and they'll have the exterminator come out for the beetles. At this point, the seller is willing to negotiate. I have seen situations like these go separate ways. I've seen the seller go above and beyond to fix anything and everything to make sure that there's no reduction in price. But I've also seen sellers say that they're not going to do nothing and they still ain't going to reduce the price. So it can really go either way depending on who we're dealing with. Now that both parties have agreed on the terms and conditions, we moved into the purchase and sales agreement that begins the transfer of property, where the seller is now transferring the property over to the buyer on paper. It is at this point the funds from 1B, the $1,000, are due to the listing agent to be held in escrow. It feels like radio silence. And so the 1,000 is that offer, the whatever we decided to put down. Even with VA, even with NACA, it's not required that you put anything down for those programs. But I do tend to tell my clients, like, let's just put $1,000 at offer, $4,000 at purchase and sales. And let the listing agent know, like, we don't have to. This is a VA. We don't have to put anything down for down payment. But out of good faith, we want to show you that we mean business. And so we're putting $4,000 down. Feels like radio silence because we're not communicating every day like we used to. The attorney and the lenders are communicating, preparing your loan, and the attorney is going back and forth with the seller's attorney, making sure that you are protected, the title is clean before we get to the closing table. During this radio silence, the bank is going to send an appraiser out to the house to determine the value of the home. Once the appraiser comes back, we find out whether you're walking into equity, if the house was priced correctly, or if we need a reduction in price. No bank will ever pay more than what the home is worth. At this time, I'd like to remind you the listing agent is prepared all the important information for the transfer, such as trash day, recycling, who services for the furnace, who cleans the pool, who comes out in the winter to shovel the snow. And so you can become comfortable with the home that you're about to purchase. Clear to close, my favorite words to hear. I love the CTC. So CTC is what we as real estate agents know as a clear to close, which is typically received 3 days to 24 hours prior to closing. Once you get the clear to close by your lender, that means like we made it. That means we are there. We are at the final stretch of it. And so that's when you will receive your final numbers, what you need to bring to the closing table. You won't know your exact numbers until you get your CTC. The reason why numbers are estimated prior to clear close is because of the taxes, the insurance. This is all calculated daily. Once you have your closing figure from the lender, you'll go to your bank or your credit union and get the funds in the form of a bank check made out to you. So it's like I go to the closing table with a check made out to Tayla Andre. The walkthrough. A walkthrough it's not when we go and see the house the first time. A walkthrough is hours before closing, not days before closing. We ain't doing that. If we're closing at 9 a.m., we're going to see the house at 7 p.m. And I might be a little nervous and go before we go to closing. Let's pretend you close on Friday and we do the walkthrough on Monday. Yes, you close on Friday, but we did the walkthrough on Monday. We just gave the seller the opportunity to do whatever he or she wants for the next 4 days. And not to say that all sellers are sneaky, conniving, or just like dirtbags, but you don't want to give anybody. So maybe it's not even the seller. Maybe it was like somebody came in and trashed the place. There was a squatter that came in and started living there. Like, you never want to give that much time between the final walkthrough, which is just like, yo, there's a hole in the wall that was not here when we did inspection. And so we're doing a holdback. You're not getting all your money until this is fixed. And so let's say we notice something during the walkthrough The powder post beetles are still alive and moving, even though the seller was going to call the exterminator. The mold underneath the sink was never removed, even though the pipe may have been replaced. When we got to the closing table, we presented these findings to the attorney, and they suggested holding back X amount of dollars to fix the problem. The attorney might go back and forth until they settle on a number. The paperwork is updated. You begin your 30 minutes to 45 minutes signing spree. After all of the documents are signed by you and the seller, the keys are handed over. After it's recorded on record, and you are the new owner of 123 Equity Lane, where you will finally be home. And 2 hours later, how long have we been here? 1 hour and 34 minutes later, I hope you understand the process of purchasing a home. What does it look like for you to buy a house? I hope that answered the question. Some of the things that I want to clarify really quickly is no, you do not have to take a first-time home buyers class before you can get a pre-approval. Let me say that a couple more times. You do not need to take a class, any class, no class, first time, nothing to get a pre-approval. You can get a pre-approval right now. If you have all your documents, you have all your bank statements, you have your W-2s, you have 2 years tax returns, you can get a pre-approval, maybe not tonight, but tomorrow. You do not need to take anything. You do not need to do anything, but upload your documents. Another misconception that I wanted to touch on. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat, slide in my DM. I'm going to go pick up Prince from school. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. I really hope I was able to get your questions answered. I really hope that this, like, aha for you gave you a moment of clarity. Because it's not as hard as you think it is. It's not as difficult as people have made it to be. Can it be frustrating? Yes. Can you be annoyed? Yes. Do you want to fucking strangle somebody sometimes during the process? Absolutely. Are there going to be times that I'm like, no, you don't want to see this house? And you're like, I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to see it. I'm like, no, you don't. And then you get there and you're like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Duh. Because it was 1,200 square feet and you need a 4-bedroom. Where's 4 bedrooms going to fit in 1,200 square feet? And you got a king size mattress. Like, no. Be mad, be frustrated, but it's in your best interest. You're going to be frustrated with your lender when they're telling you how much money you have to bring to the table, that there's a credit card that you have to pay off, that there's your credit score that you have to bring up. You're going to be annoyed. You're going to be frustrated. It's going to, work your nerves sometimes. But the best feeling in the world is to walk into your house where if you want to put a hole in the wall, do it. No one's going to ask you any questions. You want to paint? Do it. You want to park in the driveway? It's yours. You want the kids to play? Go ahead. The kids want to run around, and there's nothing better than owning your own if that is what you decide to do. And so again, the first step is realizing that that's what you want. Moving forward with what it is that you want and your desire. And if that's what you want and your desire, let's get it. Let's go get it. Let me help you help you. And again, a 203K is my favorite. Pre-approved for $600,000, buy for 4, renovate with 2, and create the home of your dreams. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I hope you have an amazing day.